no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? Make sure you're using hashtag Raiders or Super Chat, and make sure you join us every single Tuesday when we go live, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, if you want to get your questions featured here on the Raiders Report. First one's coming in from Robert. If we sign Hooker and Sherman, should we trade back and draft Jenkins for a right tackle? Yes, I've been on board that I think Tevin Jenkins will be available a little bit later on. And if we can get Malik Hooker and Richard Sherman, I'm going to be going live on the channel. We're going to be getting wild here, Robert. You know, these are two guys that I definitely want. But I also like Jenkins a lot. He's one tough MFer. Let's go to Rashimo. What up, my man? What up, Mitch? Do you think we will take a tackle in the later rounds of the draft? If the Raiders do end up taking a tackle later on, and his name, unfortunately, right now, it's escaping me, he's the offensive tackle from Mass. So from the people that I talked to in the Raiders organization, he's the tackle from the University of Massachusetts. He's somebody that had a virtual meeting with the Raiders as well. And unfortunately, Larnell Coleman, shout out to Sam for being able to get that to me. Yes, Larnell Coleman, he's the guy that I think the Raiders take if they do take a tackle a little bit later on. But he can also play guard, so that's another reason to keep him in mind. Let's go to Alex Valencia. Mitch, I know your team trade down. Yes, I am. Give me a scenario where the Raiders trade up. Okay, I don't know how many people saw Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, but think about this. In Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, he had Penei Sewell falling all the way down to pick number 13. In a scenario where Sewell falls all the way down to 13, where he's my number one offensive tackle, I could actually see the Raiders trading up for him. The other reason, you cannot let Sewell end up going to the Los Angeles Chargers. You can't let him being teammates again with Justin Herbert. So, let's say a crazy scenario like that happens where he's sitting there at pick number 12. John Gruden and Mike Mayock better pick up the phone, and they better be like, you know what? Let's go get this Penei Sewell guy at number 12. Sure, we're going to have to give up some draft capital, but I literally think he is going to be an all-pro tackle for, not just 10 years. He's going to be an all-pro type of tackle. That's how talented I really think this guy is. So here's the trade that I ended up cooking up. I know the Eagles already traded back from 6 to 12, but you know what? They got a lot of holes in that team as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they traded back a little bit more. So for the Raiders, you get pick number 12, Penei Sewell. The Eagles get pick 17, 79, so the Raiders still have one of their third-round picks at number 80, and then you're also throwing in that fourth-round pick, 121 overall. So if this trade meant that you could get Penei Sewell, would you do it? Type yes, or I want you to type no in the comments section. So we're always trying to think of different ideas here on the show, and I appreciate everyone's questions, but if this trade meant that the Raiders could get Penei Sewell, would you do it? Yes, or I want you to go down in the comments section and type no. Let's go to BotboyP. Do you think that Ruggs can be an 800 to 1,000-yard receiver? Do I think in the future? Yes. Do I think that he can do it right now? No. Until I see him add a little bit more weight, until I see some more positive reports come out, I can't sit here and be confident. But in calling him a bust, that's not really fair. Being a rookie in 2020 really wasn't that fair of a year. Does he need to get better on the numbers that he put up? Yes, absolutely. But think about how bad of a year Ruggs had last year, right? We're talking people look at it and they're like, oh, that was an absolute disaster. He still had 452 yards. He missed 3 games. And realistically, if it wasn't for a few bad drops as well, he could be up there. Ruggs is going to be a talented player. He's going to be used in a lot of different ways. I don't know if he'll ever live up to the pick that he was taken at number 12, but Cliff Branch took 2 years to get started. Henry Ruggs does remind me a lot of Cliff Branch. We'll ultimately see, though, what ends up happening here. So today's show is presented by Newsbreak. What I want you guys to do, help out Raider Nation, help out me, and also help out yourself. So if you guys want more Raiders Report content, if you want more news content, go to chatsports.com/RaidersNB. If you love what we're doing here at the show, seriously, I need y'all's help. So go ahead to chatsports.com/RaidersNB. Whether you live in Oakland, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, I don't know if you live in Danville, Pennsylvania, shout out to my hometown. If you're part of Raider Nation, you need to go ahead and download the Newsbreak app. How do you do it? Chatsports.com/RaidersNB. But Mitch, what exactly does this Newsbreak thing offer? It gives you the local news. It gives you the weather. Yes, Dad, you can now get the weather in another place. Shout out to the Dot. If you want more politics, you can go ahead and get that. If you want more sports content, not just from me, they have it available. Again, it's at chatsports.com/RaidersNB. So no matter what your area code is, we're going to be able to keep you guys updated. Plus, if you want more Raiders Report videos, you can go ahead and get more exclusive content there at chatsports.com/RaidersNB. When I started this show today, I was at 74 followers. I want to get to 100 followers. I want to show my bosses, I want to show Newsbreak that Raider Nation knows how to get down, that we're going to get more follows than the Cowboys Report. We're going to get more follows than the Bears Report. Like, I want to show people that Raider Nation is a wild, wild bunch. So if you guys could help me out, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Here's how you follow Newsbreak, okay? Here's how you follow the Raiders Report on Newsbreak. Chatsports.com/RaidersNB. Got to go there. Search Raiders Report, and then follow the Raiders Report. If you guys love what we do here, I'm telling you, I would really, really appreciate it. That's all I have to say. For Chalky Heads, believe it, baby. All right, let's go to Henry Gonzalez. What position do you see us drafting in the 3rd and 4th rounds? I mean, it's a shitty answer what I'm about to give you, but it literally depends what they do in rounds 1 and 2. I'll say this. It wouldn't really surprise me if the Raiders go with either another offensive lineman, whether that's interior offensive line, maybe like a Trey Smith. I don't know if Jamin Davis is going to be able to fall since all the hype with Mel's been hyping him up, linebacker from Kentucky. You could see a guy like Andre Cisco could be a pretty interesting prospect there. Tufanga also is a pretty interesting prospect. How about a guy like, I don't think Marvin Wilson, he's probably going to go in round 5 at this point now, but you could see defensive tackle being an option as well. But if I'm the Raiders, I'm going to end up saying like maybe somebody like an Andre Cisco is probably the most likely in 3 or 4. All right, what up, Pete Goff? What position will Muse play, if at all, or only on the teams? Yes, I actually think he's really only going to be a special teams player. I didn't like the pick of Tanner Muse. He's a good and fun player. However, trading up for him was a very difficult thing to do, and it's also like an unfair thing to ask Muse to do. Like, to take somebody who's a safety, convert him into a linebacker in a crazy year that was 2020, that's not really fair. It's not really doing your job, I think, as coaches, if I'm being 100% honest. And then plus how difficult the Paul Gunther defense is to learn. That's why Tanner Muse struggled a lot. He's not really going to be a big factor in 2021, but he will be a factor on special teams, which does have a lot of value. You're not going to like what I'm about to say here, but Eric Harris was a player that I thought did a phenomenal job in terms of really being able to be a solid special teams player. That's what I think Tanner Muse ends up being, a guy like Eric Harris. However, he's a lot more athletic than a guy like Eric Harris. Let's go to Don Don. What do you think about Puka Williams? So Puka Williams, running back from Kansas. I've seen a few people be hyped up on him. I'm good on Pooka Williams. Like, I can't draft somebody from Kansas, first off. And then that football program is just absolutely terrible. And if anybody's Kansas football fans, I'm sorry. There's a lot of other teams you can go out and root for. But if the Raiders go out and they draft a running back, the guy that I think is the most likely back that they go out and take late in the rounds, it's Javian Hawkins from Louisville. Let's go to Estevan Munoz. If Justin Fields falls to the Raiders at 17, does John Gruden pull the trigger and draft Fields? So I'm actually not the biggest Justin Fields fan, so I don't know how many people know that here. If you were to ask me some of the quarterbacks that really scare me, Fields, and I don't want to just say because of Ohio State, but I think Ohio State has a great system in place, and he does scare me a lot. Like, he's got an amazing athletic ability, but he also needs to be put in the right scheme. I actually don't know if Justin Fields with John Gruden would be the perfect scheme, but he's not falling to 17. If he does fall to 17, this is even more of a reason for the Raiders to pick up the phone and find somebody that's willing to trade up for him, because there would be a lot of teams interested, like the Bears. The Bears would give up so much to be able to trade up to 17 to go ahead and get Justin Fields. Now, if you guys have even more questions, please subscribe and join our live mailbags. Once again, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. Turn on those notifications. That way, when I do go live, you get that notification on your phone. You're like, all right, I can join the show. Or when there's breaking news, it'll be breaking news, Raiders sign X player. Be the very, very first to go ahead and comment. I still always see the people that are typing Noti Gang. If you're the very first person to comment on a video, please go ahead and spam Noti Gang. All right, we got Untouchable Raider 1960. I saw Ian Book in our mock draft. What are your thoughts? I don't like Ian Book. I don't think he's even worth drafting, especially if you're the Raiders. He can learn a lot from Carr and Mariota. We should get Book in the 6th round, have him in practice squad for a year. I'm good on Ian Book, man. Like, no disrespect to him. He's a fun college quarterback. I get that he started 4 years at Notre Dame, but he's just never going to be anything in the NFL. And in my opinion, why would you draft a player that you know is never going to materialize to anything? So I'm good. All right, what up, Ricardo? If Kyle Pitts falls to 17, would you pull the trigger? Actually, I would. I think Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal player. One of the best playmakers that you can find at the receiver position. If you're looking for Darren Waller, I literally think that's what Kyle Pitts is. He might even be a better version of Darren Waller in the future. So if you're talking about get Darren Waller and Kyle Pitts, I would really like that. And then, 2 tight end sets with Ruggs. So basically, you and I, we're on the same page here. So name a player that the Raiders could trade up for. Go down in the comment section and let me know. The players that I think are the most likely for the Raiders to realistically go up and trade for. Penei Sewell is one if he really falls, or maybe even Rashawn Slater. If the Raiders trade up for anybody besides that, I would be shocked. But if you were to ask me the top 2 names that I would say, okay, Raiders trading up, those are the 2 names I would say keep in mind. Super chat coming in from Aggie. Mitch, FT Mobile, ever since they bought out Sprint, my service is shit. Bring back my Sprint. How do you think the AFC West Standings will look in Week 17? The important question is, how will they look in Week 18? Because remember, now there's going to be that extra week. Man, I'm hoping that the Raiders are at least up there. For me to sit here and say they're going to be better than the Chiefs, that's just me lying to y'all. Until the Raiders actually beat them both weeks, I can't sit here and say that they're going to take them down. What does scare me, though, is I thought the Chargers had a good free agency period, and I thought the Broncos had a very good free agency period. So the only team that I thought took a step back might actually be the Raiders. I'm still going to have my fingers crossed, though, that it's Chiefs 1. That's painful to say. Raiders 2, and then Broncos 3, Chargers 4. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos made a leap up, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers made a leap up. It's just how can the Raiders stay around 500 and continue to get better. Ricardo, what do you feel about the right tackle coming out of BYU? So actually, you're like the 3rd or 4th person to DM me this guy's name, and unfortunately, Brady Christensen, thanks Sam, he's an okay player to me. Like, he has some very good technique, which is why a lot of people are, I think, really excited about him. He has some upside as well, but I am not going to sit here and say, like, I would be confident in Christensen being able to be our starting right tackle on day 1. If we had another option, which technically we do with Denzel Good, but Christensen's a player where you could be a round 4 target, that'd be on board with. All right, let's go to Leo Hamilton. Which 3 defensive players are the most likely to be drafted by the Raiders at 17 overall? So it's funny. Last week I got asked which offensive players would be the most likely to get drafted. I said Tevin Jenkins. So now you're going defensive side of the football. I'll say this. If I had to put it on, Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Merrick. Trevon Merrick from TCU. So both of these guys, linebackers, more of edge rushers as well. Merrick's the number 1 safety in this year's class. But what I didn't ask last week was, who would you guys pick? I'm going to do it this time. Who would you guys pick if all 3 of these players were on the board? Now, obviously, you can go a lot of different ways as well. But let's just say John Gruden and Mike Mayock, they're sitting there saying, we're going to go with one of these 3 players. Nation, help us pick. Who would you pick? Micah Parsons, type MP. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I want you to type joke. I think it's going to be Trevon Merrick. I want you to type TM. Go down in the comments section and let me know. Now, if I missed your question, you guys can always hit me up. I'm on IG. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. I always tell people to slide in my DMs. It's the easiest way to get in contact with me. I know some of y'all are busy. I know you can't join the live show because maybe you're working. Believe me, I work a ton, and I get it. All I say is this. If you want your questions answered, hit me up on IG, Mitchell Renz 365. Let's go to Ricardo. Another super chat. Okay, what do you feel on Nico Collins, wide receiver, or Terry, wide receiver from Florida State in the later round? So Nico Collins is actually a very interesting prospect to me. However, I don't understand how all these Michigan players are great players, great athletes, but never really materialize. I will say that I definitely think it has a lot to do with the Michigan offense, but I'm good on Nico Collins. I'm good on Terry as well. Probably both players that I would say the Raiders shouldn't go out and get. If I'm looking for like a late round receiver that the Raiders should go out and draft, the guy from Clemson who had a very good second half of the season, I don't know if it's Amari Rodgers, Cornell Powell, that's the guy. Cornell Powell is an interesting player. I know how much the Raiders like their Clemson receivers. So Cornell Powell, someone to keep in mind. All right, we also got this one. Hey, bro, love your work. Enjoyed the show with Graphic Raider and Raider Honcho and Samoa Raider the other night. Keep up the good work. Yeah, those are my guys right there. So shout out to those guys for the invite. If you have a podcast, if you have a YouTube channel, and you want me to come on as a special guest, another reason, hit me up. More than happy to join your shows. Let's go to Noob. Do you think we draft J.C. Horn? The issue is J.C. Horn going to be available at 17? When I did my latest mock, I had him going 16 to the Cardinals. And some people are like, oh, Mitch, it's only one pick. The Cardinals' biggest need is corner, and I don't really know if it's all that close. Horn is a very interesting prospect. It really kind of comes down to where does Patrick Surtain go for me, because with the injury to Caleb Farley, I think that this kind of hurts the cornerback market maybe a little bit. But for a player like Horn, I do like him. I think he'd be a good fit, and he was on my list of players that the Raiders should target in round 1. He just didn't quite crack my top 8. All right, let's go to KaZaar 42. If you could trade back with any team, who would it be? KaZaar, I would say go check out my trade video and where you can see 5 different trades with some different ideas. I mean, in a perfect world, I could trade back with anyone. It would probably be a team like the New York Jets because they have so many draft picks. A team like the Jacksonville Jaguars where you're trying to hope that one of those guys miss on somebody. Or maybe a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, or maybe a team like the New Orleans Saints where they see a quarterback really, really fall and they're willing to give up just like a shit ton of draft picks, because that's when you get like really, really good deals, when a quarterback falls. I just don't think a quarterback falls. I really think we could see 5 QBs go in the top 10. All right, Sergio. Okay, so draft Merrick on the first round and then go right tackle in the second. I mean, it depends, right? I mean, I like Merrick a lot, but again, if I can get Richie Grant in round 2, that's better value to me than Merrick in round 1. There's a lot of other tackles out there I'm starting to like a lot more, like Liam Eichenberg I'm starting to like a lot more. The tackle from Stanford is somebody that I'm starting to like a little bit more. His name's Walker Little. Brandon Radons also is a player from North Dakota State. Dylan Radons, from North Dakota State. The tackle position is very, very deep. Alex Leatherwood as well. So, Sergio, appreciate it. Let's go to Jake Powers here. If the Raiders can't get a premier nickel cornerback like Poole and free agency, should we try to bring back T.J. Carey on a 1-year deal, who seemed to improve a lot with the Colts? T.J. Carey was a player that I liked a lot. And when he went to the Browns, I was pretty upset. And then he had a pretty good year this past year as well. He is a very interesting prospect to me. However, I see the Raiders going with a youth movement. And a lot of the moves that they made on the offensive line kind of showed that they're going youth movement. Don't be surprised if Amik Robertson's out there week 1. What up, Devon or Devin? You can choose. What are your thoughts on Jamin Davis? Does Mel Kiper know what he's talking about? What I would tell you to do is go check out my Mel Kiper mock reaction video that's already on the Raiders Report. I give like 8 minutes of analysis on Jamin Davis. He's a very good player. He's a phenomenal athlete. However, the Raiders doing that seems like a little bit of a reach to me. But go check out the video. Let me know what you have to say.